You don't need a better to-do list. You need a better mental diet because your brain becomes what it's exposed to. And right now, it might be stuck in survival mode. If you're trying to reinvent yourself while your mind is living on a steady diet of stress, noise, and comparison, it's going to feel like pushing a boulder uphill in roller skates. Today, I'm going to show you how to feed your mind the future you want in a way that actually changes how you think, act, and show up. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to shift your mental inputs so that your brain stops sabotaging you and starts supporting the version of you that you're becoming. Ready? Let's go. My first tip is to audit what's occupying your mind, or what I sometimes call the mental clutter sweep. We're starting with something simple and surprisingly confronting. What's currently occupying your mind? Not what you think occupies it, what actually does. If your mind were a kitchen counter, are you preparing a beautiful meal there? Or are you balancing the cutting board on top of an Amazon box, 3 school permission slips, and a stack of mail from 2021? Because here's the thing about reinvention. It doesn't start with adding new things. It starts with subtracting what's blocking you. Cognitive load theory tells us that your brain only has a tiny amount of working memory. And when it gets overloaded, even with irrelevant noise, your ability to focus and think clearly drops fast. Not by some tiny percentage, by the kind of amount that makes you walk into a room and immediately forget why you're there. And I felt this in a big way when I was in my medical residency. Even when I was home, supposedly off duty, my brain was still filled with hospital noise. Rushing adrenaline, pager alerts. Yes, we used pagers back then. And a sense of constant vigilance. It was like my mind was trying to run a marathon while still carrying its stethoscope, a laptop, and 6 unresolved patient charts. I didn't realize it at the time, but my mental diet was basically cortisol. And that state, survival mode, will always pull you back into old patterns because your brain's priority becomes just getting through the day, not reinventing your life. So here's your first step. Do a 24-hour mental audit. Just notice what you consumed, who you talked to, what you scrolled, and especially what thoughts kept repeating. Then choose one recurring input, just one, something that keeps dragging you back into old you mode. And if you can, remove it from your mental diet for a day. It will feel weird. It will feel quiet. It will feel like your brain doesn't know what to do with all the extra space. Good. That means you're clearing the counter. Okay, so once you have cleared a bit of mental clutter, we move to this deceptively simple but wildly powerful question. Is this feeding my future self or my past self? Every thought, every video, every conversation is either reinforcing your old identity or shaping the new one. And research on something called future self continuity backs this up. This is the idea that the clearer your connection is to who you're becoming, the more likely you are to make choices that benefit that version of you. People who feel closer to their future selves, whether on money decisions, exercise habits, or career moves, they tend to make choices that benefit that future version of themselves. They're more likely to pick long-term rewards over short-term gratification and act in ways that align with their future goals. In other words, when your future self feels real, your present self stops messing around. This is actually how I got back into learning French. My current self did not need French, but my future self, the one living between Canada and Europe, giving talks and writing books, absolutely does. Reinvention requires feeding the person you're becoming, not the person you've already been. So this is tip number 2. Adopt the future self filter. Start filtering everything through that lens. Is this future me food? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't need to be on your mental plate. All right, let's move on to tip number 3. Here's something that we don't talk about enough. Most people are not choosing their mental diet. The algorithm is. Algorithms aren't moral, they are mathematical. They don't care what serves your future self, they care what keeps you scrolling. If you pause for 2 seconds on a video where someone is ranting, you get more rants. If you click on productivity hacks, suddenly you're buried under a landslide of hustle culture content that makes you feel like a chronic underperformer. If you watch self-improvement videos, welcome, hello, you're often served people trying to convince you that you're broken so that they can sell you a solution. Your algorithm has an agenda. However, your reinvention needs a filter. So tip number 3 is to quit the algorithm diet. Your job isn't to please the algorithm. Your job is to curate your inputs with intention so your brain is being fed content that builds you, not content that makes you feel worse. Do a quick check. What do you actually want your brain to be marinating in? Because that's what you will eventually become. Okay, let's move to tip number 4. Now, here's the part that people often get wrong. It's not enough to remove junk thoughts. You have to replace them with something better. Otherwise, your brain just goes back to whatever is familiar. So I use a little mini framework that I call notice, neutralize, nourish. So notice is catch the junk thought. Something like, I'm behind, or I always burn out, or my personal favorite, the existential classic, who do you think you are? Then step 2 is neutralize. Don't argue with it. Don't shame yourself for thinking it. Just label it. Oh, old identity talking. Cute. Then nourish. Feed in a higher quality thought. Not fake positivity, not fairy dust. Just something true and empowering. I'm behind becomes I'm becoming. I always burn out becomes I'm learning a new pattern. And who do you think you are becomes someone new. Repetition rewires the brain and builds belief. Belief forms identity, and identity shapes behavior. I had to really lean on this when I started playing golf because I never grew up seeing myself as an athlete. Sports were not my thing. And stepping onto a golf course for the first time felt like entering a foreign country where everyone else spoke the language fluently and I was still sounding out the alphabet. My junk thoughts were loud. You don't belong here. Everyone is watching you. You're not coordinated enough for this. But I started using this framework: notice, neutralize, nourish. Every single time that those thoughts popped up. Notice, oh, there's that old story again. Neutralize. Old identity talking. Nourish. I'm someone who is learning a new skill. I'm someone who shows up. I'm someone who belongs here. And over time, those new thoughts actually stuck. They became the foundation of this new identity that I'm building. Not just someone who golfs, but someone who is willing to enter unfamiliar territory to become the next version of herself. And that, by the way, is tip number 4. Replace junk thoughts with identity food. It's the mental equivalent of upgrading from a gas station muffin to a beautifully curated breakfast. Feed your identity the good stuff. All right, so now that we have talked about replacing junk thoughts, let's talk about where your better thoughts come from. Because here's the honest truth. If you are not intentionally feeding your mind, your brain just eats whatever is lying around, like a toddler at a birthday party discovering unattended cupcakes. Most people say that they want to reinvent themselves, but they're not regularly exposing their brain to ideas and perspectives and frameworks that pull them forward. Your mind needs a chef, not a vending machine. And this is where books, ideas, and intentional learning come in, because they give your brain pre-filtered thinking that is deeper and sharper and more helpful than whatever today's algorithm is serving up. Which brings me to today's sponsor, Shortform, which in the past year has genuinely become one of my favorite ways to upgrade my mental diet. Shortform was created to solve a very real problem. In the last 20 years, we have had an explosion of books and articles and podcasts and videos, but our actual free time has not exploded with it. So Shortform helps you to access the world's best ideas in a way that is deep, intentional, and actually useful. If you haven't heard of Shortform before, they produce these super powered guides to nonfiction books, not just summaries, but in-depth explanations and really smart commentary and even exercises to help you actually apply what you've learned. It's like having your smartest friend walk you through the book and connect it to other authors and ideas. And a little bonus that I love, you can actually download short form guides onto your Kindle, which I love because it makes it so easy to read them anywhere. So the way that I use Shortform is twofold. Sometimes I will read their guide before deciding whether I want to buy and read the full book. It gives me a really strong sense of whether that book is worth my time. And then other times, if I've already read a book that I truly loved, I'll go to Shortform after to take a deeper dive and really dissect what I learned. It's such a good way to cement the ideas. They cover everything from self-improvement and psychology to business and health and relationships and communication. Truly, anything that you might want to learn. For this video specifically, I revisited a few of my favorite guides like Atomic Habits and The Courage to Be Disliked, because both of these dive deep into the theme of reinvention, which is exactly what we're talking about today. Shortform is offering my viewers a free trial and a discount on the annual subscription. Just go to my link, shortform.com/Foster. I will also leave that link below to make it really easy. But here's why this all matters for reinvention. You need ideas in your environment that are smarter than your current patterns, and more expansive than your current beliefs, and more aligned with the person that you are becoming. And books, especially distilled and expanded in the way that Shortform does, they basically do the cognitive heavy lifting for you. Reinvention is not about grinding harder, it's about thinking differently. And the easiest way to think differently is to feed your brain with better ideas. So make a deal with yourself. Every week, one idea that nourishes your future self. And this is tip number 5. Build your future self with better books. Your brain is porous. Let the right thoughts seep in. Quick pause. If you are loving this conversation about reinvention and identity, make sure that you are subscribed, because this entire channel is all about becoming the person that your future self will thank you for. And if you're ready for an actual reset, not just inspiration, then join the Reset. That's my free 5-day challenge. It's short, daily tools, a printable tracker, and some of the things that I usually only share with students. And again, the link is below. All right, let's keep going. We have got tip number 6 coming up. Now, your mind doesn't just absorb information. It also absorbs people. There's a concept in psychology called social contagion, which sounds dramatic, but it simply means you subconsciously start adopting the beliefs, behaviors, and expectations of the people that you spend the most time around. And here's the twist. The people that you spend time with also include the people that you follow online. Your daily algorithm literally becomes your circle. So ask yourself, does my environment, digital and real life, pull me forward or pull me sideways? This became really clear to me when I met Ali Abdaal, one of my longtime YouTube mentors and heroes, in London this past summer. It was an intimate mastermind, the kind of group where everyone in the room is dreaming bigger than you are, but in a way that feels expansive, not intimidating. Being around people who think a little bigger than you or differently than you, it shifts your sense of what's possible. It nudges your identity upward, and it normalizes having a bigger vision. So this is tip number 6. Use the proximity principle for mental fuel. Place yourself near people whose thinking matches the future that you want, not the past that you're trying to outgrow. You don't need to meet them all in person. Your brain will happily absorb their ideas through books, podcasts, videos, and conversations. But the truth is, your environment is shaping you whether you're aware of it or not. So make sure that it's shaping you in the right direction. Okay, this last one is simple and incredibly powerful. Every day, your mind is choosing between feeding your past self and feeding your future self. Reinvention happens when you make that choice consciously. So I want you to create what I call your identity pantry. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or 3 small, visible cues that remind you of the identity that you're stepping into, and you put them where your brain can't ignore them. For me, that looks like my French notebook on the counter, my golf glove sitting on my desk, because my brain needs to know that I'm a golfer now. My TEDx talk script, that sits on a shelf right beside me. Even a perfume that I associate with future me. These are micro inputs, tiny nudges, but they work because your brain is constantly scanning your environment for signals. Who am I? What do I do? What matters today? Your mind believes what it sees repeatedly, so show it what matters. Stock your identity pantry with cues that feed your next self, not your old one. Okay, let's wrap this up. At the end of the day, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of what you feed your mind. Reinvention isn't a lightning strike or a dramatic makeover. It's the steady, intentional decisions to nourish the future you want. One thought, one input, one idea at a time. So audit what's coming in, curate what you allow, upgrade your inputs, and surround yourself with the thinking that matches where you're going. Because once you feed your mind the future that you want, your identity will follow. If you want your next step, the perfect next video to watch after this, I am going to link my deep dive reinvention video on the very next screen. It's called The 3 Daily Moves That Build a Brand New You in 2026. It's the natural extension of everything that we talked about today. So go ahead and click on the next screen and I will meet you there. Ready? Let's go. My first tip is, was that a little hysterical with the let's go? Okay. I want to be encouraging, but not full-blown cheerleader. Okay, let's try that again. Let's go. No, God, why am I struggling over let's go? Okay, it's fine. It's fine.